Alright, in this video we are dealing with this thing called interval notation. Alright? And what I want you to do is be able to go back and forth between interval notation, inequality notation, and even graphs. Okay, so let's start off here with inequalities. You are familiar with inequalities from like even elementary school and middle school. Okay, so what this x is less than 2, x is less than 2. If I was graphing this, you'd be looking at a graph where there's a 2 here, and x is less than 2 is x is not equal to 2. So I put an open circle at 2. It's not equal to it, but it's everything to the what direction, left or right? X is less than 2 is everything to the left of 2. Now, I'm not really asking you to graph these. I'm asking you to be able to use what I'm trying to teach you here, the interval notation. So interval notation is written kind of like you would write a point, like an x comma y point in parentheses. But we're not talking about a point, we're talking about a set of numbers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to write the least number here. Interval notation works like this. Least value and the greatest value. So that's how you write interval notation. So in this case, x is less than 2. What is the greatest value that x can be in this case? So it's basically every number up until the number 2, right? It's like 1.999 would be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 here, and we're using this parentheses to act. The parentheses actually means it does not include the number 2. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Now, if I'm talking about the lowest possible number that x could be, what is that? -5, is that the smallest number you can think of? No, -100, right? -1,000,000? Okay, so infinity is not an actual number, but so what we're going to do here is we're going to put negative infinity. And so this symbol right here, this notation means that x can be anything from negative infinity up until the value 2, but not including 2, because I have the parentheses here. What does this mean? X is greater than or equal to 3. Greater than 3. X can be anything greater than 3. So what is the least number x can be? 3, comma, and how large can x be? Infinity. So with infinity, I always use parentheses. With infinity or negative infinity, I always use parentheses. But with the number, it depends on the symbol here. In the number 1, I had strictly less than, so I used parentheses. But in this case, I've got greater than or equal to. Now the equal to means that x can actually be equal to the number 3. So I want to include 3 in my answers. So what I'm going to do here is not use a parentheses, but instead, because it's equal to, I'm going to use a bracket. So greater than or equal to 3 means from 3 to infinity, including 3. And I put the bracket right there to mean I'm including it. Okay, so what about this next one here? X is less than or equal to negative 4. X is all the values less than negative 4. So will negative 4 be the first number or the second number in the notation? Will it be the first or the second number? Let's give me the second, because I'm talking about values that are less than negative 4. Negative 4 is the top number. Okay, so x is less than or equal to negative 4, so you should see that negative infinity would be the first number. We can use everything from negative infinity up to negative 4. So what do I always use with infinity? Parentheses. And what do I use in this case? Because x is less than or equal to negative 4. Equal to means bracket. Okay, so we've got some of those examples. Let's do some examples right here. How about number 10 here? I'm looking at a graph. I'm talking about all the values from negative infinity up until 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and write negative infinity up until 1. And I love looking at a graph because it shows you. I mean, it's there. It's right in your face. So what do I always use with infinity? Parentheses. And what do I use? What am I going to do with this 1 value here? Because this is an open circle here at 1, because it's open, I'm going to use parentheses. I'm not including 1 in the answer. It's everything up until 1. So 0.9999 would be acceptable. But 1 is not. That's number 11. So, or that's number 10. So what about this crazy number 11? It's got 2 sections. And here's how you answer it. You've got the section from negative 4. I'm going to go ahead and just put the answer down here so that I've got plenty of space to do it. I'm going to go from negative 4. I'm going to go from negative 4 to negative 1. Do I include negative 4?
No.
It's an open circle, so that's a parentheses. Do I include negative 1? It's shaded in, so that's a bracket. So what can x be in this problem? Well, I've shaded these values, so x can be anything from negative 4 to negative 1, or anything from 3 up to infinity. I always use parentheses with infinity, so what do I do with the positive 3? It's an open circle at 3, so this is going to be parentheses. Now, the answer is, I want to introduce this concept to you. It's x can be any of these numbers between negative 4 and negative 1, or anything between 3 and infinity. Now, we have a mathematical symbol that we use to mean the word or, and it is this symbol. It's like a U. It's called union. You're expected to know that symbol, union. So what about number 12? What about number 12? Well, we're talking about the numbers from -3 to +1. Notice that there's a gap right here at +1. It's an open circle. So what do I do with the number -3? Do I include it or not include it? I include it, so it's a bracket at -3. And what do I do at 1? Parentheses or bracket? Parentheses. Now, I've got two pieces here. It's this piece or that piece. So what symbol do I use? Union. Okay, now, I'm going to start again at 1, and I'm going to go to 4. So what do I do with the number 1? Parentheses or bracket? Parentheses. What do I do at 4? Bracket. There's my answer. Okay? So, lastly, let's jump down here to this number 8. Actually, let's do number 7 and 8 right now. This, -4 to +2, it goes from -4 to +2. -4 to +2. X, what this means is -4 is less than x is less than or equal to +2. Alright? So, it ranges from -4 to +2. What do I do at -4? Parentheses. What do I do at +2? Because it's less than or equal to 2, it's bracket. Okay, so what about number 8? X is less than 2 or x is greater than 3. Less than 2, greater than 3. Well, that because it has the word or, there's going to be a union in this problem. That's your hint. So you've got two pieces. I want you to see if you can figure out what the parentheses bracket interval notation happens to be. So go ahead and take a moment, try it, pause the video if you need to, and resume with us when you're ready. Okay, I'm back now for my recording, and to finish this one up, you have x is less than 2. So we're talking about all the values that are less than 2. Well, less than 2 means negative infinity up until 2. So with the negative infinity, I always put a parentheses, and with this 2, should I include a parentheses or a bracket? Parentheses, and I'm going to put a union here, and I'm going to union with all the values that are greater than 3. So I'm going to start with 3, and I'm going to go up until infinity. So with the infinity, I use a parentheses. What do I do with this 3 here? Parentheses. Okay, if it was greater than or equal to, then I would use a bracket. Does everybody understand this? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my goal here is to make sure that you're familiar with interval notation, that you know how it works and how to use it when it comes up. All right, so we're going to use interval notation in the next lesson, which is all about finding sections of the graph where the graph is increasing, decreasing, or whether it's constant. We're going to use this interval notation in the next lesson. So thank you for watching this, and we'll catch you in the next video.